me on it. So I considered it a compliment. It was really cool. So my name is Tahira Amatu. And I feel like I know most of you. I'm an attorney. I live in Springfield. I run my law practice out of Chicopee. I've been practicing law for 11 years. I have lived in Springfield since I was 9 years old. We moved here from East New York, from Brooklyn and Queens. I went to Elms College in Chicopee. I went to Western New England University in Springfield. And the dean just gave me a wonderful award this past fall, the Dean's Alumni Award, which touched my heart because he was the dean at the time that I was in law school. And I never thought that they would come back and claim me, really claim and embrace me so many years later. And I said to the dean that it was touching to be given that award because it talks about the support of the entire institution on some of the activism that I've done around women's rights, rights of religious minorities, racial justice, social justice. And it's very significant to me. So, as you all know, I'm running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. Yes, it is a large district, 3,000 square miles, 87 cities and towns, all of Hampden County, all of Berkshire County, part of Hampshire, part of Worcester, and part of Franklin. And so we're making the rounds. And so for that compliment from the alderman to be given says to me that we're doing what I've promised I would do in DC, which is make sure that the entire district is uplifted, that everyone's heard, and they're paid attention to. And we're doing it right now with a volunteer staff, okay? And we're already making a difference. I've been telling people that we're already winning because for the first time in forever, the entire political world is paying attention to what's happening in Western Massachusetts. People love the story. They love the story of me. They love the story of girl versus the establishment. She's African American. She's younger. She's Muslim. She's a woman. They love those details, and it sells newspapers. I understand that. But when the megaphone gets passed to me to talk about the race, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the story of us. I'm talking about the quality of life issues that are impacting the 1st Congressional District. So we're already winning because when's the last time people really paid attention throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the country to what was happening here? So what are some of the issues that I've been talking about? I've been talking about unity and how our district is not unified and how we've actually been sort of rocked to sleep to accept sort of the standard that's happening, the status quo that's existing, and it's so unfair. There are pockets throughout the district that feel unheard, they feel neglected, they feel hopeless. I've seen them, I've embraced people, I've hugged them. Other people told me that my entry into the race has given them a reason to feel like they can wake up and be a part of a change. For like the first 3 days after I launched, I had some really serious insomnia because of that honor and the privilege of being trusted to help change our condition was something I did not anticipate. They did not teach me that in How to Run for Office class 101. It took me about 3 days to process that, and I'm good. I'm sleeping well every night. We have to unify the entire district and let everyone realize that what's happening in the inner city, what's happening in the urban community, what's happening in rural communities are the same in some form of fashion. It just presents itself a little bit differently. We all have the same goals, the same hopes, the same dreams, and we won't be fragmented and segmented. So one of the things that I'm doing around the unity piece is I'm looking for opportunities to go throughout the district. And I'm bringing people from all backgrounds and saying, come with me. So there's a meeting that Bonnie and I are going to go to up in Mohawk Trail, and it's about the challenges of rural school districts. So I'm going to bring people from Holyoke and Chicopee with me, and Springfield, and we're going to go sit and listen, because it matters. They're our neighbors. The federal government looks at this district as one neighborhood. And then when things are happening in Springfield, because there's a similar open meeting in Springfield, I'm bringing people from the rural districts and saying, hey, come, just sit and listen. Let's hear that we're really all talking about the same issue, just presents itself a little differently. That's exciting to me. From a policy perspective, I support Medicare for all. And one of the reasons I do is because I have a 7-year-old daughter, absolutely beautiful little girl, first grader. And she survived open heart surgery when she was a newborn. We brought her to Boston Children's Hospital nearly dead. The one thing my husband and I didn't have to worry about as we nursed her back to health was how are we going to pay for it? Because we had a good health care plan. And I'm a divorce lawyer, and I've practiced law in every county I seek to serve. One of the things that I'm really proud of here in Massachusetts is that we were on the cutting edge with respect to how we approached healthcare, so that when I'm sitting at the table with couples in divorce, there's always some sort of product that will make sure the kids are covered. And we see that that's at risk now. We're not insulated here in little Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We see that it's at risk on a larger scale. I'm also making sure that we talk about the opioid crisis. So when I get that megaphone, these are the things I'm saying. I'm saying Western Massachusetts, and in fact our entire Commonwealth, is impacted, if not ravaged, by the opioid crisis. Those are good words that people can launch on to hear them and appreciate them. But what I'm talking about is not just the opioid crisis. We have a heroin crisis, a crack crisis, and a cocaine crisis, all happening to our neighbors. And there is disparity in how we deal with addiction among different people. Black and brown bodies and other bodies, addiction is treated differently. We need to step back from a punitive model and deal with it with a clinical and compassionate model. We can throw money at the opioid crisis all we want, but until we look at it from a human-centered, social justice and human rights issue, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to solve it. So I'm saying this message to people throughout the district, and when I get that microphone. The other thing that's really challenging us here in the 1st Congressional District, infrastructure. Infrastructure is everything. There's so many things we can talk about infrastructure, but I've zeroed in on internet and broadband access. Now, I live in Springfield. My office is in Chicopee. I can jump on the internet at any point. It's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for too many people. I had a dinner party a couple of weeks ago, and one of the teachers that came to the dinner party says to me, come here, I need to tell you something. He was a guest. I didn't know him. So he had come with a friend. And he says, I teach high school, and I have to communicate with my students on the telephone. I can't use email because my students don't have internet. It's not available in their town. So if they're not having DSL or satellite, then the kids are doing with nothing. And that is a quality of life issue. Because what do doctors tell you when you have something wrong? Okay, well, look it up and don't rely too heavily on the internet. So the fact that a large group of our folks in the rural communities and in some aspects of the urban communities don't have access to it means that they are cut off from access to the world. And it creates economic gaps, skills gaps, wage gaps, prosperity gaps. It's wholly unfair. And in some of our inner city communities, particularly where the families are lower income, internet access is there, but it's cost prohibitive. So you see children going to the public libraries in order to do their homework. That's just another barrier to success. Let's face it. So I want to make sure that we talk about infrastructure and not look at it as a rural issue or an inner city issue, but it's a 1st congressional issue. And we all benefit from making sure that we address internet in that way. And when we talk about prosperity, let's look at some numbers. The U.S. Census Bureau numbers just came out in December, freshened up for the past couple of years. The 1st Congressional District is the poorest district in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I am offended by poverty. I think it's wholly unacceptable that the most tenured and senior congressional representative leads us into the black hole of being dead last. It is wholly unacceptable. Hamden County is the poorest county. I think it was fluctuating between Franklin County and Hamden County in recent years. The city of Springfield, the median income where our congressman sits, $35,000 a year. We have higher than average unemployment. But there's lots about the status quo that is not good and it's failing people. Some of the things that people ask me, and I'll share it with you all here, and they say, well, we have this congressman and he has the most likely chance to be the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. And if the House turns blue and you win, what happens to that seniority? And it's a good question that people ask a lot. Well, you know who else is in succession for the chairmanship if all of those things happen? If the congressman becomes ill, unavailable, does not get elected, resigns, life goes on first, life goes on. But in succession, the likes of John Lewis, like the civil rights icon John Lewis, a congressman named Lloyd Doggett out of Texas, who I hear is really good also. So the Democratic Party is in great hands with someone like John Lewis at the helm of the Ways and Means Committee. And the 1st Congressional District is in good hands with someone like me. And we also have to really examine our own thought process on how good is the chairmanship of the Ways and Means if we're not already benefiting from it. If we have higher than average unemployment rate in Springfield where he lives, if our district is dead last in 9 districts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, how is it acceptable? I would have been fired had I had those results in any other aspect of corporate America where I work. So this race has been very interesting. I'm learning a lot. I'm sharing a lot. I'm happy to take your questions. I'm grateful that you've taken the time out of your week and your night to come and hear from me.